Gaga, 5'2", is a Netflix original documentary that was just released on Friday, September 22nd, and it was shot earlier this year in 2017 while as she was releasing her single Million Pieces, her album Joanna, and also appearing in the Super Bowl. So it does cover a lot of topics that are actually very interesting and have a big impact on her life during this documentary. It's about an hour and 40 minutes, and it does cover all those topics. It's actually really well done. It's entertaining and it's fun. You get to know her, which is an important part of the documentary, I think, is actually getting to know the subject of the documentary and learning something about her that you probably didn't know unless you watched this show. So I'm sort of a fan of her music. I mean, I don't go out of my way to listen to it, but when it's on, I like the way it sounds. But other than that, I don't really know much about her. I am a football fan, so I did see the Super Bowl halftime show, which I liked. So it was interesting to get to know her better. One of the big aspects that comes up throughout the show is her broken hip, which she's talking about how it happened 3 years ago. And throughout the show, it bothers her quite a bit. Like shooting a music video, it bothers her. And there's basically just every morning she's getting massages. There's parts where you can see like she's in a lot of pain, and she has to have a massage therapist around all the time to deal with it. She's taking treatments for it. Like it's an ongoing thing. And even like getting ready for the Super Bowl, having to go through and rehearse all those dance routines while also having to deal with the pain of a broken hip that keeps coming back. And then she's like, the way she describes it, it's not just a broken hip, it's something that goes all the way up the side of her body. So seeing her dealing with that throughout this whole episode is this whole show is really well done, and it's intriguing, and it really draws you in and makes you feel for her as a person. And that's why seeing her not as this flamboyant figure but actually a real person and learning about her is really good. It's entertaining, and you do have an interest in what's going on in her life. You see her struggle with when the album was released. It was released early on the internet, so she has to deal with that. You see her working on her single from pretty much start to finish. Not the boring parts, or I'm sure they would be intriguing to some people, but it's more of not necessarily montages, but just little clips throughout the special or throughout the documentary about what her progression is from idea to an actual finished single, which was pretty interesting. And she talks about like paparazzi and fans. They show how even though she's in all this pain, she really wants her new single to work, so she's out there doing all these promotions, and it really makes you appreciate the effort and the work that they put in, the artists, as far as creating and promoting their new products. So it was good documentary. There were a few shots in the beginning that were done with handheld cam that actually looked almost like a home video. I think they were kind of trying to mimic the Madonna Truth or Dare style, but this was actually better. It's just there were a few moments in the beginning, but after that, the camera work looks a lot more professional, and it's more well done. The music is great throughout. You hear clips of her new music, and you also see her performing some of her older music, and you see her family. And the album Joanna, it's actually about her aunt who died young, and so you hear that story, and you meet her grandma, and things like that. It's good to see, and it does it really makes you like her as a person. And you see some candid moments where she has conversations with people about issues that are bothering her. One of the things she talks about was Madonna, and how she didn't like that Madonna has these issues with her, but she won't tell her to her face, that kind of thing. There's, the interview she has with the New York Times where she actually goes into the story about her aunt, which is pretty touching. And yeah, it's very, you can see why she would make an album about this person, so that's really good. So there are a few moments where the documentary person actually asks some questions of her, which I wish that they would have done something a little, or come up with a format that worked better than just a question kind of randomly coming in from off screen. Like even if they would have just put a title card at the bottom or something like that to show you that it was the documentary, the director or somebody, because all you do is you hear a voice. You don't know who it is. It could be the cameraman, it could be one of her friends that are in the room at the time. You kind of assume it's somebody involved with the documentary, but they never tell you that. So it would have been nice if they had formatted that better, but every once in a while somebody shoots out a question. One of the first ones was there's some balloons in her house, and it's because she's getting the starring role in A Star Is Born. So there's all these balloons. So it starts out on a high note where she's happy, but then she's also going through a breakup. So it's a high and low note. She actually says at one point in a voiceover that a lot of the times when she's got something really good going on, it's also at a point where a relationship is going bad. So that's interesting that happens, but it's also interesting that she's aware of it and notes it in front of cameras. So it is a really good show. Like, you do learn a lot about her. She is a funny person, she's interesting. The pain that she's going through is definitely real, and you do see her go through a lot just to get the videos done, the concerts done, the shows done, all that work that she puts in, and dealing with all the pain involved in the physical pain with the broken hip. Like, it is a lot to deal with, but she goes through it like a trooper. So it is a good show. You do learn a lot about the character. The music's good. It's shot well. It's directed well. It's a very entertaining documentary, and it goes basically from her coming up with the idea for A Million Pieces and all the way up to her doing the Super Bowl halftime show. So there's quite a bit that it covers. The only other negative thing I would say is that it seems to cover, or try to cover, everything that happened to her during this time period, and there's quite a lot. So you just kind of hear snippets of stuff, like the relationship stuff is barely in it. It's just kind of her kind of mentioning something once in a while about how her relationships have gone. And same with, like, the Super Bowl thing kind of covers the last half hour or so. But the other things, like the album and the single, they do cover up most of the first hour of the movie. So it is good. You do learn a lot about her, and I would say this is definitely worth a watch. On Netflix, it's definitely getting a thumbs up. And as far as a Netflix original documentary goes, I'll rate it an 8 out of 10. And it would have just gotten higher if there was a little more of a better format for interviewing her instead of just randomly throwing out questions as you're, recording her. And also if there weren't so much little shaky handy cam work in the beginning that kind of made it look pretty unprofessional. But other than that, it was a really good show. And like I said, 8 out of 10, definitely worth a watch, and I would definitely recommend it. Even if you're not a Lady Gaga fan, just watching her do what she does is worth the show. So if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, or all the above. Thank you, and have a nice day.